All right, let's get right into it. If you are prepping for competitive exams, you already know that India's geography, and specifically its incredible river systems, is an absolutely massive, high-yield topic. So today, we're breaking the whole thing down visually in this explainer. No fluff, just the absolute critical facts. Origins, lengths, and dams that you actually need to memorize. It's all structured perfectly to help you ace those exams.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is your ultimate mental roadmap for today. Number 1, river basics and classifications. 2, the Indus River system. 3, the Ganga and Brahmaputra systems. 4, west-flowing peninsular rivers. And finally, number 5, east-flowing peninsular rivers.
Starting off with Part 1, River Basics and Classifications.
So before you just start memorizing individual rivers, we really need to lay down the foundational framework, and this brilliantly illustrates the two major geographical classifications you absolutely must know. On one side, we have the Himalayan rivers, like the Ganga and the Indus. Now, because their source is a mix of melting snow from those towering glaciers, plus seasonal rain, they are perennial. That means they flow with water all year round. On the flip side, we have the peninsular rivers, like the Narmada and Godavari. These are primarily just rain-fed, which means they are non-perennial and can drastically dry up during those harsh summer months. It's a really fundamental difference, dictated entirely by their source and flow duration.
Moving right along to Part 2, the Indus River system. So, the crucial point here is mastering the 5 major tributaries known as the Panchnad. Let's chunk these facts together so you can easily recall them on test day. First, the Jhelum originates in Kashmir and feeds the massive Wooler Lake near Srinagar. Next up is the Chenab. This is the absolute largest tributary of the Indus by volume, and it's home to the Ratle and Biglahar dams. Then we've got the Ravi, which is essential for the Chimera Dam and, fun fact, historically famous as the lifeline for the ancient Harappa civilization. The Beas River is where you'll find the Pong Dam, and finally, the Sutlej, which uniquely originates way over in Tibet and powers the famous Bukhara Nangal Dam. Make sure you lock these specific river to dam pairings in your memory.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the geopolitical reality of the 1960 Indus Water Treaty. I mean, on paper, it sounds like a perfectly even split, right? Pakistan gets 3 western rivers, the Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab, and India gets 3 eastern rivers, the Ravi, Beas, and Sutlej. But wait, take a close look at that distribution. The actual water volume heavily favors those western rivers. Pakistan's 3 rivers carry roughly 80% of the total water volume, while India's 3 rivers account for just 20%. That right there is a classic exam trap, so you've got to make sure you note the difference between the river count and the actual water volume.
All right, Part 3, Ganges and Brahmaputra systems.
2,510. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is the awe-inspiring length of the Ganga in kilometers. It is absolutely the undisputed heart of India's river systems, geographically and culturally. But how does a river of this staggering scale actually come together?
Well, let's move to and see how this builds. Because the Ganga doesn't just pop out of nowhere. It builds sequentially through a series of confluences known as the Panchprayag up in Uttarakhand. It all starts with the Alaknanda River. As the Alaknanda flows down, it first meets the Dali Ganga at Vishnuprayag. Then, it joins the Nandakini at Nandprayag, the Pindar at Karnprayag, and the Mandakini at Rudraprayag. Finally, we hit the defining moment. Down at Devprayag, the Alaknanda merges with the Bhagirathi. And it is only after this final spectacular union that the combined waters officially become the Ganga.
Okay, let's rapid fire through the key Ganga tributaries you need for test prep. Seriously, jot these down. The Yamuna is the absolute longest tributary within India, clocking in at 1,376 kilometers. Feeding right into the Yamuna is the Chambal, which importantly originates down in the Vindhyas. Moving back to the Ganga, we have the Son River, the second largest south bank tributary. From the north, the Gagara comes in as the largest tributary by pure water volume. And finally, the Kosi River. This one is infamous, both in exams and in reality, as the sorrow of Bihar, simply because of its massive sediment load and drastic course changes that cause huge floods.
Swinging over to the northeast, we find the colossal Brahmaputra. At 2,900 kilometers long, it's just immense. Now, a super common exam question targets its changing names, so remember, it begins as the Yarlung Tangpo in Tibet, becomes the Brahmaputra in Assam, and then transforms into the Jamuna once it enters Bangladesh. Oh, and it also forms Majuli, which is literally the largest riverine island in the entire world.
Next up, Part 4, West-Flowing Peninsular Rivers.
So, as we leave the snow-capped Himalayas behind and move south into the peninsular rivers that drain into the Arabian Sea, I actually have a bit of a curveball for you. Did you know that not all rivers actually make it to the sea? Yeah, take a look at the Luni River. Originating in the Aravalli Range, it's an ephemeral closed drainage river, which means it literally evaporates and just disappears into the salty marshes of the Rann of Kutch. It's a really brilliant anomaly to keep in your back pocket for those tricky exam questions.
Now, for the rivers that actually do make it to the Arabian Sea, this table is your ultimate cheat sheet. We structured this specifically so you don't get cognitive overload. You've got your 4 main west-flowing players, the Narmada, Tapi, Mahi, and Sabarmati. You can clearly track their origins, from Armakantak for the Narmada all the way to the Aravallis for the Sabarmati. Also, make sure you note the crucial dams, like the massive Sardar Sarovar on the Narmada and the Ukai on the Tapi. Take a mental snapshot of this if you need to, because these pairings are pure exam gold.
Actually, let's just hit pause for a second to emphasize one specific number from that last list, 1312. That is the exact length of the Narmada in kilometers, cementing its total dominance as the longest of all the west-flowing peninsular rivers. Flowing fiercely through a rift valley between the Vindhya and Satpura ranges, it is for sure the undisputed heavyweight of the West.
Finally, Part 5, East-Flowing Peninsular Rivers. All right, looking now at the expansive deltas emptying out into the Bay of Bengal, let's set the scale right away. Check out this massive number, 1,465 kilometers. That's the immense length of the Godavari. Because of its sheer size and huge geographical basin, it rightfully earns the famous title of the Dakshin Ganga, or basically the Ganga of the South. Let's quickly break down these eastern giants. The Mahanadi originates in Sihawa, stretches 858 kilometers, and is Odisha's most prominent river. Then we have the Godavari, born in Trimbakeshwar, spanning that massive 1,465 kilometers we just talked about and powering the Pallavaram Dam. And rounding out the big three is the Krishna River, originating way up in the heights of Mahabaleshwar, flowing for 1,400 kilometers and hosting the absolutely crucial Nagarjuna Sagar Dam.
Okay, so remember way back at the start of this explainer when we established that peninsular rivers dry up because they rely only on seasonal rain? Well, actually, scratch that for this next one. The Kaveri River, originating in Brahmagiri, is an incredible geographical exception. It is the only perennial peninsular river. And why? Because its basin is perfectly positioned to catch rain from both the southwest monsoon in the summer and the northeast monsoon in the winter. It never runs dry, which makes it incredibly unique.
Wow, okay, we have covered a staggering amount of geography today, all the way from the high Himalayas down to the southern deltas. But remember, these aren't just facts to memorize for a multiple-choice test. With rivers like the Kosi drastically shifting their courses and super complex water-sharing treaties governing the Indus and the Kaveri, these waters are literally the lifelines for over 1 billion people. So how will India continue to balance, distribute, and protect its most vital natural resources in the face of all these modern challenges? That's a question that goes way beyond the exam room. Keep studying, keep questioning everything, and I'll see you guys in the next explainer.